Da 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 do 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 May we listen for that sweet spot with all our heart.
Alright, welcome to our new voice. Here we are, take 3. With very patient. I mean, I don't know. I know us moms gripe about these young kids, but these 3 are being really patient with this process. So we're talking about gender, and we've gotten pretty basic understandings that gender was pretty straightforward. There wasn't really a question for any of you guys. And we were starting to talk about the way that you learn what it is to be a man and a woman, and the new relationships that may not be of the same template that someone like myself as a boomer might have had as her idea of what a family was supposed to look like. So maybe you guys can talk about what you feel a family is supposed to look like.
Yeah, well, I mean, reiterating what I said in the trial, I guess we'll call it, I don't know if I wanted to stick with that idea of the 50s housewife and male dynamic where I come home and my wife doesn't have a job but she's working in the kitchen and stuff, cooking food and just taking the kids everywhere. I think I would want a more dynamic and back and forth relationship with my significant other, and in the sense that we both lead our own lives, and that I'm not the only one who's I guess going out there, because I feel like if you do that, there's resentment thrown in between of what you could do or what you can't do, and then that just becomes a problem down the road. So I think I would want for both parties involved to have very very open opportunities and for what they can pursue in their life, and not just a set template of what we have to fit into, because I think that's kind of boring.
Yeah, I agree. I think oftentimes your significant other, that special someone is always hard to find, but I always thought that I wanted a female in my life that was, smarter than me, challenges me, but I wouldn't have an issue if it came down to it, if my wife was more successful than I was to be the domestic engineer, if you will, of the family, the stay-at-home dad, but
Domestic engineer.
yeah, that's a term I've heard before.
Nice.
But I just don't feel like there is a normal, or perhaps, as you're saying earlier, a new normal that we should fit into, because each relationship, each family, each couple is different in every way, shape, and form, and they don't have to confide or fit within a certain jar of social norms, I feel, and that women and men are equal and should be treated as so.
I guess that's why really getting to know yourself helps you be in relationships, because then you can be true about what you're doing and not just be in the relationship and trying to keep the relationship as opposed to being your real self. Has that ever happened? Do you ever get lost in a relationship where you're trying to be what someone else wants you to be because you don't want them to not like you?
Yes, I call them, not me personally, but I mean, maybe there's instances that I have been in a relationship and you don't realize it until you're out of it. But I call that the boyfriend / girlfriend chameleon. So they change to fit the relationship or fit the significant other.
How does it usually work out?
It doesn't. I mean, I've been with girls that to be frank, it's just a physical relationship for the most part, and the emotional aspect is lacking or not there. But not every relationship is the relationship for the rest of your life. So
Yeah, one of the things I repeat often is that life's a school and relationships are the classroom, and so you learn about yourself through your relationships. So whichever ones you have, they're usually an opportunity to see something about yourself, like whether or not you tell the truth, what you think's important, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and in my limited view of relationships, like I haven't been in many, but I've always tried to remain like what I was before it. I've never tried to seriously change my attitude on something, just to make the other person feel better, or really make them like me. I've always tried to stay myself, so if the person likes me, they like me for myself, and it's not really anything I have to change, and it's not like I'm getting smothered by their or they're smothered. I'm not trying to have them smother my personality under this idea of what they want. I feel like it's a bit unfair, even for both parties. I would want anyone I'm dating to remain themselves, because I think it makes you a more independent and interesting person in the long run. Instead of being okay with everything, maybe have you could have some opinions or stances that disagree with mine. And I don't know, I think disagreements are natural, and I think it's healthy. So I wouldn't want anyone to chameleon into my life.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely in a relationship would want the person to be their complete authentic self, and then have me also be myself, so it's just a nice, trustful relationship. And I can know if I really don't like the relationship early on, instead of them appeasing to what I like, and later on being completely different, and me realizing that I don't have anything in common with this person at all. They were just changing themselves for me. So I always think it's good to be transparent in a relationship.
Yeah. So this is a little out of left field, but I'm feeling that I should ask it. What do you guys think about having children? I know that none of you are having them anytime soon, I pray, but the children going through schools, would you do it the same way that it was done for you? What are your thoughts about what happens with kids when they come into the world, and how we do it so far? What's your sense of it?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I would want to have, obviously I would want to have kids in the future, because the idea of a smaller me running around is just so joyful. Just more me's is what I need in this world. And I don't know. I think the part I'm looking forward to the most in my future is showing them things that I like, and hoping that it maybe imprints on them a little bit. My dad showed me a lot of movies and music that he likes, and I've come to like them, and I think that's something really cool that I would like to do. But I don't know.
What about going to the school and the whole way that everything happens? Do you feel like it's the best thing for children to go through the experience of K through 12 and all that? What's your sense of that?
I never really had any trouble in school. I mean, besides the work, which is hard, but everyone has that problem. And I've never really been through any of the serious horror stories of bullying or any of those things. So I don't know. I haven't really witnessed it, but I would want my child to go through school, just to because I feel like it could put them on a pretty normal. I would want them to have a normal life, instead of maybe something super sheltered. Or I wouldn't want to homeschool or anything like that. I think I would want them to go through high school or any public school, just because of what you learn about yourself in high school or public school, because I think it's just important. I wouldn't want to deprive them of those experiences, good or bad, because you grow as a person from them.
I think the biggest thing, maybe a little bit more than experiences, or relationships that make you who you are. Like you were saying, the world is our our school and relationships are our classroom, and these relationships that you make, and I mean, the three of us all went to public school, and that none of us would. I mean, the two of you would have, but I wouldn't have known you guys if we didn't go to public school. And I think that not sending my child through that would almost be a disservice, rather than sheltering them from the possibilities of bullying that they're sure to overcome, or failure in a class or something like that, because the negatives are surely outweighed by the positives, and I think K through 12 education.
Do you feel like kids are able to be authentic in school? Like, do you feel like that's one of the qualities that is groomed in school?
Not necessarily. I felt that I didn't find my niche of friends really until my senior year of high school. My best friend moved away to Florida after my sophomore year, and then it was like time to find new friends. And I really didn't until my senior year when I started hanging out with Tristan and Cole and a few other of our friends. But authenticity.
Swimming guys.
Exactly. Yeah, the authenticity was lacking with other friends, and I don't feel that's the case with the friends that I hang out with now.
Yeah. So what about you, Tristan? What do you feel about school K through 12 and the kids of the future?
I think I'd put my kid in public school. Like I think I'd want my kid to have the same education I had, but I don't know, with the way the world's going, I don't think putting kids into this world is going to really help anything. And also, we might all die. So, who knows?
What do you mean when you say that?
I mean, it's with everything that's going on, like global warming, just the world basically just falling apart. Unless we figure it out, it may not be right to bring a kid in, as much as it would be nice to have a kid. Maybe I don't know, they'll just have to live worse than I did. I don't really want that.
I feel like it's different, but it's the same as parents of the past. My father grew up during the Cold War, and Vietnam, or the Civil Rights Movement. I feel like that's no different than now. And you go back further, and Korean War, World War II. Women's suffrage. I don't know. I feel like it's the movements that change the world, and I feel like we're just living through one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, if we're going to go down the wormhole for a moment, our mind is a mirror, right? It learns through imitation, and it mirrors what it sees. And it grows understanding through duality. It compares, right? This or this, this or that. And then it leaves us in somewhat of a extended ping pong match within ourselves that can feel like, you're gaining some rally back and forth, is that what you call it, when you can get the ball back and forth? But yet the ability to really be still is hard, because the mind likes to keep going. So these thoughts that we're processing, like you said, the lens that we might have had if we were born 60 years ago, 100 years ago, or born 20 years ago, it's different, because whatever era you were born in, you get a certain kind of lens of how you look at it through your thoughts.
Right.
And you get taught things from the people.
I always said to my brother, really, that there's an event that defines a generation, and there's the Kennedy assassination, or maybe the Challenger exploding, and Berlin Wall falling for past generations. But I feel like this virus, perhaps, or maybe this movement of civil rights, the the peak of this mountain perhaps is our moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's a raising of consciousness, and the thing is, when you get a sense of how our mind and our heart and our body works, our mind is really just like taking in information and just giving us ways that we think we're supposed to act. But like, what is it that's watching us? Like, who are we when we're not in our mind? I mean, I know that's deep and down the hole a little bit, but I often wonder about that, because I think there's more to life than just what we talk about and what we see on TV and what we think. You know what I mean? I think there's a bigger way that we're all connected. What do you guys think about that, Tristan and Cole?
What was the question?
I was talking about the possibility that our thoughts are not the end of it, that there's more to life than just the way we learn to think about things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a tiny speck in the trail of life. Like, I'm not really anything. My thoughts about change anything. Like, I'm not very important. I'm not a cataclysmic event that'll offshoot the course of life. Like, I think life just keeps moving on, and I'm just kind of in it. And whatever I do with the allotted time I have is what I do with the allotted time I have. I don't really know. And I think, bringing more people into that, giving them their shot to do something is I encourage it. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it as almost like a burden. Like, I think that living your life and bringing other lives into this time, even though it may be distressful and a bit complicated, I think it's going to be for the better, because the grass is always greener. Like, back during civil rights or civil women's suffrage, I bet they thought it's going to get worse than this, it can't get better than this, and then it has. And I think we're thinking the same thing now with all the diseases and crazy things happening. But I think that's just the way we're looking at it as it comes at us. Like, we haven't seen anything like it before, but it doesn't mean we can't. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means it's a minor speed bump in this life.
So I appreciate what you're saying. It's a little bit more existential. It's like you just kind of have your spot and that's it, and you're not really affecting other lives.
Yeah.
But it's impossible not to affect other lives.
Well,
because how we are affects the people around us all the time.
I don't mean it like I'm not interacting with other people. I mean it kind of like that, people are still going to be alive and people are still going to find a way to thrive, even if I'm, I don't think I'm going to be able to stop the course of life in the sense that nothing's going to get better from here. I think I don't know if I can really change anything. I mean, I'm sure if I can change some things, but for the most part, I feel pretty limited in what I can do, how I can reach out.
I think that's why we want to all come together and do what we can. But I hear you. Go ahead, Ryan.
I don't think it's about maybe making your difference, stopping life and making your difference. I think it's, if you redirect life that 1 degree, you've made your difference. If you affected that one life, teachers always say if they can influence one student in their career, they've done their job. And I feel that if you can, if you change one person and that person changes one person, it'll never end. So I think we are self-made, but I don't think we don't affect change. So I don't think that our destination is determined, but I think we just find ourselves along the way.
You with us at all, Tristan? You listening to this part of the conversation? I know you were helping with the dogs.
No, I wasn't.
It's okay, hon. Thank you for being authentic. To that point that we grow a little bit, when I was growing up, there was that silly phrase, children should be seen and not heard, right? So kids were supposed to just be out playing and not really around and stuff like that. And being the mother of Tristan and Cole, they've always been very, they drew a lot of attention to themselves. They were strong, they were clear, they were articulate, they had things to say, So one of the things that I wanted to do as a parent was make sure my kids could speak speak about themselves, speak about life, you know what I mean, to know themselves. And so the older boys are the same way, you know, they're all of that type. But that was my move that I could make for the family line, right? Because growing up, our voices were more like, haha, shut up, you know, we're doing what I say, you know, whereas I tried to say, okay, what does everybody think? And sometimes that was really hard. It would have been a lot easier if I could have just been like, yo, everybody do what I say. But we didn't lay it down like that. But I did allow the children to each have their own authentic expression, which I think, like I said, there's those small increments that we make towards what we think is important. And I decided that was a value for myself as a parent anyway. So yeah, Tristan, we were just talking about kids going forward and what kind of schooling they might have or what we might offer children if in a different world. And I know you touched on who knows what's going to happen. And straight up, like, do you guys feel like that? Because you're not going into the same world that I did, like college and standard, you know, there's a whole lot changing. What do you guys think, just like college and how much it costs and the whole thing? Like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, college is definitely like pretty big thing right now. You know, it's very expensive. It's very like high risk. You know, but I feel like most people who have gone to college have or most like people I know have gone to college and they've gotten, you know, some experience from it or even some knowledge from it that they didn't have before previously. And really that's all I'm pursuing. Like I don't really want any like, you know, I just want to know what to do, and I think college could help me in that, where I could just, you know, meet more people and see what I like, see what I don't like, you know, find out what I want to do, or, you know, get good at what I want to do. And yeah, so that's the only reason I want to go, but it's definitely a challenge. It's like a hurdle because, you know, it's like financially a huge thing. It's a lot of money, and some people, you know, look down upon it and say it just doesn't work, but I don't know. I'd like to make that opinion for myself instead of having people who have gone to college say it doesn't work, but then like people who have gone to college says it works, and there's people who haven't gone to college and say, oh man, I wish I went to college. And there's just a lot of different things that you can't really listen to someone who's like, oh, college is a scam, because like, yeah, but you went to college. Like people who go to college and say that, then obviously they have some, you know, like weight in what they're saying, but it might have just been their fault. It couldn't have been the college's fault. You don't know, but I would like to figure that out for myself instead of having someone tell me and me being like, oh, okay, I guess I won't go to college. Because then I could be, you know, like removing myself from some important thing that I could find in my later life.
Yeah, I don't know what I want to do. I don't even know if I want to go to college. I'm pretty confused about that whole thing right now. And it just seems like a big decision to make when I'm like 17. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to go to college, or if I just want to like find a job somewhere, or if I want to go to like community for 2 years. It's a very confusing time for me, and I'm still not sure.
Thanks for being honest. Do you want an answer to that too, Ryan?
Yes, sure. Yeah. My mom went to college, my father didn't. And my mom went to Fairfield in Connecticut and got a nursing degree and was a nurse for 6 years, and then there was an accident in my family and she had to leave, and she hasn't worked since, and that was in 2002. And 18 years later, she hasn't worked since, and my father didn't go to college and was a police officer for 30 years, so, you know, it's easy to say that college and employment aren't direct, and not employment, success, employment, college and employment, college and success aren't directly related. It's easy to say that, but I would disagree that, you know, there is a degree of success related to formal education, and, you know, I don't think that all college is, you know, classroom, or all schooling is just classroom. You know, it's a lot about finding yourself and who you are because of the relationships you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think I've always, you know, it was always that I was going to go to college in my family, and that all 4 of my siblings were going to go to college. And both my brother and I, joined ROTC, and after college we'll join the Army. And my father wasn't in the Army, but my grandfather was, and both my grandfather and my mother's father, my other grandfather, were in the Army or Navy. So I guess it was part of our family background a little bit, but I felt the drive within myself. I wasn't following my brother's footsteps or my grandfather's or anything like that, but it was go to college to reach that point of being an officer, because that's what was needed, because I had the goal of doing that, so college was always just a stepping stone in that path.
Nice. Now we know more about you. So you always kind of wanted to go into the Army.
Yes.
Yeah, you have that kind of look too. It makes sense.
Captain America.
Captain America look. He does have that look. We can't deny it. So last thing. How do you know that something's true? Like, how do you resonate or really determine the truth for yourself?
I make guesses.
That a boy?
So, nobody really knows if anyone's telling the truth, unless they already know the answer.
For yourself, truth, like what you want. I understand you may not want others, but for yourself, what's your truth? How do you know when something's truthful? How do you get a sense that that feels right?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's like you said. It's just a feeling. You do something and it feels right in you. You don't really you have second thoughts, but it's really what you want to do. And no matter what you do, you always think about it. It's in the back of your mind. So
you're saying what you want to do becomes what you is authentic?
Yeah, for me, anything in my future, when I think about what I want to do or how I want to approach it, it's I think about it in my head, and then there's always these options in my head of what I can do. I could join the military, I could go to college, I could just not do anything. And I'm always weighing those in my head, but I'm also always getting drawn towards one more than the other, and almost fantasizing about it. And so then that's kind of what I want to pursue. So
then your thoughts kind of grow more stuff around it. So you start to think about something a lot, and then more happens around it.
Yeah, and I guess truth. When I hear something, and I have to discern whether it's truthful for myself, I kind of just weigh it in my head. I just think what is I just try to see the whole picture, and then I can kind of decipher whether it's truthful or
so you
lying.
use discernment. So you kind of use discernment.
Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
I don't think the truth is really definable. I think the truth is personal. Like my parents are still together, but I have friends that their parents have been divorced, and it's father versus mother, the side of what happened in the relationship and why it failed. And then which one was the truth.
Yeah, I've met lots of kids in between those kind of stories over my years of counseling, where they have what their mom said and what their dad said, and they really feel in the middle in such an uncomfortable way.
Yeah, and picking one of the truths is difficult. So I think the truth, I can't say it's what you want it to be, but it really it's what you make of it. I think a crazy statistic that I always found was that only 18% of American citizens trust the government.
Oh, really?
Which is, obviously staggeringly low.
I wonder Tristan's wondering if we're going to be all right.
Which, if it's that few people, then why have the institution, Mm-hmm. What's the threshold of...
And the government has a lot of guns.
Yeah, and what's the threshold of freedom for security and for... what level of truth do we deserve as individuals, because we are just a speck in 300 million, but if I'm not here and if Tristan's not here and Cole's not here, it adds up quick. So where's the line? Where do you draw the line in the sand?
Yeah, those are good questions. I'm really definitely hoping that more and more of the truth comes out, and it becomes somewhat of a universal truth, right? Because there's so many things that, like you guys said, has different perspectives. But if we can just come up with some basics, that we're all just like, all right, so this is what's up. Let's start with what we know, because it can get so muddy so quick, and then it's hard to move it all.
Yeah.
It's confusing. Well, is there anything else that you guys want to say today? Thank you for joining us on Our New Voice, and we got an agreement to some girls your age to do it as well, so we'll allow that to persist, and then maybe we can bring you all together one time before all's over. So anything else you guys want to say about yourself, relationships, family, the truth, authenticity, anything like that?
No.
Any final quotes?
I just think it's it's important to be genuine, because eventually the act will end and you'll fall out of character, and when you're stuck, the loss of your friends and family, when you don't know who you are, how is someone else going to? So
Let that be true. Let us really be ourselves. I like that, Ryan. Thank you.
Bill and Ted once said, be excellent to each other, and I think that's very important to just, keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at what you want to do or how you're going to approach something. Just be excellent.
To each other. I like it, Cole. You threw in a movie quote. Good job.
What can I say?
I love it. I love the movie quotes. You boys know a lot through movies. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Take care, and see you again soon. Thank you, Cole, Ryan, Tristan. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Da 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 do 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 do.
May we listen for that sweet spot with all our heart.